What's up, Sagebrush? Hi, and welcome to the weekly message discussion. We want to help you take the concepts from the weekend's message and apply them to your lives in a meaningful way. My name is Eric, and I'm here with Andrew, and we're going to walk through a few questions. We want to encourage you to participate in discussion in the comments below. Andrew, can you say hi to everybody and let them know where we're at in this current series? What's it called? Are we there yet?
Are we there yet?
Are we there yet?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys on Facebook on Monday. It is lunchtime, and I'm hungry for lunch. But I'm here with you instead, pressing on and forward.
Gladly.
Gladly as well. No, but man, we have had a great past 5 weeks calling this, and we've called the series, Are We There Yet? And it's been a parenting series where we've talked about, man, what's the meaning of your life and how to convey meaning to your children and how to give them something to live for. And this was the last week. And it was solid. We talked all about Nehemiah and his divine burden just to go rebuild the walls in Israel. And it was a great message, great and challenging.
Yeah, excellent message. And, like you said, it is a parenting message. So there are a lot of things that we talk about with people with kids, but we recognize a lot of you don't have kids or you've got adult kids that are grown. But the key for this series is it's answering 4 questions that all of us really need to answer. If you're a parent, it's important to have your kids have a good, compelling answer for them. So I would encourage you, I bet Andrew would too, go back and watch all of the messages if you haven't seen them already. And especially if you're one that maybe either doesn't have kids yet, you don't have kids, or your kids are kind of grown, put it through that mindset of like, do I have these questions answered for me? And how can I help the people that I lead and influence answer those questions for their lives as well? What we're going to be doing today is going through the small group study questions as kind of a way to give you a little bit of an idea of what small groups look like. So if you're watching this with your own small group, make sure you press pause when we ask the questions, or you could participate in the comments if you're on Facebook. In fact, say something right now so we can know that you're participating here. But if you're on your own, make sure you journal, or when the question comes up, pause and turn around and ask whoever's around you, maybe. We could bring that up too. But Andrew, why do we go through the small group questions? Why is being involved in small group so important?
We love the small group questions because a lot of times you come to a weekend service, right? And it's an amazing message and you're like, oh, that was the best message I ever heard. But by Tuesday or Wednesday, we've forgotten about what we learned.
Monday morning.
It's Monday morning. There was a lot of football, lots of things that happened this weekend. Clemson lost, which I'm really sad about. But it's okay. But no, oftentimes we forget about what we learned, though. So small groups is that place really to kind of introduce those topics, to allow those things to really be integrated into your life. It's one thing just to talk about Jesus, but that idea of bringing him into your life and integrating him into every part, you can't do that on your own. You need a group of people who are going to challenge you, who are going to hold you accountable for living for Jesus as well. And so, man, small groups are really where the rubber meets the road and keeping you focused and accountable.
That's right. And so, again, participate in the conversation. If you are interested in joining a small group and you haven't joined a small group yet, let us know in the comments. We have our pastoral team members who would be happy to get you connected. In fact, I'm sure one of them right now is getting ready to post the link so you can sign up for a small group. And if you've tried before and maybe you haven't found one, keep trying here, because we'd love to get you plugged into a life-giving small group, whether that's an in-person small group or a virtual small group online. We have those groups available for everyone. And in fact, it's a good time to plug too. If there's something that is going on in your life and you maybe need some care and recovery from, we also have a set of recovery groups that happen every Wednesday night. You can check that out. That's Living Free. So I'm sure somebody will post that link in there as well. No matter who you are, what age, what stage of life, there's a small group for you. We want you to get involved in that. We usually start off our small groups with an icebreaker question. That way it could get the conversation started. So the icebreaker this week is, what is one of the boldest things you have ever done, and why did you do it?
Is that a question for me?
Well, yeah. I was really thinking about this, and I was like, I don't know that I have a good answer for it. So I'm hoping people answer here. I'm hoping you answer, because I don't know that I've been racking my brain thinking.
For me, besides asking my wife out on a date, which took a lot of boldness. We bought the Camaro like the week before, and that's what I guess lubed the gears to get me to be bold to invite her on a date for the first time. That was one bold thing that I did, but in all seriousness, one of the boldest things that I've done is when I was a senior in college, I went on a mission trip to Turkey. Oh, not like what you eat for Thanksgiving, but the country of Turkey. And man, if you don't know it, Turkey is 99.9% Muslim.
Right.
And so we spent 6 months going and traveling all throughout the country and sitting in tea gardens and just sharing the story of Jesus Christ with some people who had never heard about Jesus. Now, that was in some parts of Turkey because we were giving away Bibles illegal.
Yeah.
So they didn't really like us there. And at one point, the secret police kind of came out in public and, caught us kind of doing that. And they were not very happy with us to be doing that. But we still pushed forward. And even in the midst of the persecution and everything else, had a great time sharing our faith. And I'll never forget that trip.
Right.
What about for you? What bold thing have you done?
I don't, I'm still trying to think through. I mean, you have it's hard to follow that up. Like Andrew says, hey, I was persecuted for our faith and we pressed on for the sake of the gospel.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's cool.
I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I tried a blazing wing from B-dubs one time, I think. Yeah.
That's pretty bold, dude.
Right. Yeah. Well, in the comments here,
pretty bold.
Pam says she stood up for her faith. Pat says she saved a woman from jumping off a bridge. She was a police officer at the time. That's probably a great story.
We need that story for video.
Story for
There's
sure.
no doubt.
That's right. Carla said she joined the jail ministry.
Yes.
In fact,
bold.
Okay, so that I have done that. Okay, so when I was living in Ohio, there was the county jail there. They were accepting chaplains to come in and talk to groups, and that was an interesting time because you're definitely in the jail. It was male and female both together in the prison, or in the jail, but they had a partition separating.
Yeah.
And you're given this message. You had to check all the stuff to make sure you didn't have staples or paper clips or anything else like that.
You didn't drop your pen.
Right, and like they tell you, they go, okay, there's a square over there. Actually, it wasn't really a square. Whatever a square is with an open side against the wall. And they said, if anyone stands up, you need to go to that square and face the wall. So, yeah. So, I mean, in retrospect, it wasn't really a big deal because it was fine. But, there was a little bit of like, oh, this
fear and trepidation.
Could go poorly.
Might end up in the square.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. Meg went on a medical mission trip with Sagebrush to Nicaragua. That's great. If you've been on a mission trip,
that's bold.
And we are praying. I mean, there's a bunch of things about COVID and the lockdowns that we hate, but one thing that we would love to get back to is going overseas mission trips. Doing that again. And if you were here this past weekend, you saw our video of some of the great things that God is doing in Haiti through the faithfulness of people just like you at Sagebrush who faithfully donate and contribute their time and their talents and energies to that. Okay, let's move on. James says leading total strangers to Christ out in the world. I mean, that is bold, talking about your faith.
James does that on trails everywhere, the La Luz Trail and everywhere else.
He's just wherever.
Wherever he's at.
Next question. What are some reasons people give for not making an impact in our world?
Well, I think I was pretty aggressive when I was in college. Like, I didn't really care. But now that I have a family and I've kind of settled, a lot of times my main excuse is, oh man, I have a family.
Right.
So I've got people who are dependent upon me. I can't do something big for the Lord because, these kids I'm scared of what might happen to my kids or what might happen to my wife. And so I think that holds people back. But a lot of times I think it's just our own comfortability.
Yeah.
It's just that we get comfortable just with our life and we feel like, man, I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize my job or would jeopardize, just the livelihood that I have. And so let's just not, muddy the waters or, make any different thing happen that would jeopardize kind of my comfortability.
Yeah.
So I think those things hold us back.
I think for sure, yeah, especially if you have kids or if you have loved ones, you have family, you start to do that. I think in general, there's like just an I don't know, like we value this world too much, which is kind of weird. Like there's a balance between like we need to be in this world because God has called us for a very specific purpose and mission to spread the gospel to the people in this world. But at the same time, this isn't like our highest, like our bank account isn't like the thing, or our homeowners association, or wherever we're, like that's not the ultimate thing to this world. It's actually making an impact. And so I think there are times you definitely have to be intelligent. I'm like, hey, my biggest impact can happen at home with my kids.
So true.
But I'm not going to allow that to be an excuse
Correct.
to stop me from what God has called me to.
Yep.
And so I think that's part of it is, you do have family, those sorts of things. But also I think sometimes we just assume what we're doing is making an impact when it's really not. Like, God's up there going, okay, you shared a Bible verse on Facebook. Wow.
Good job.
Thank you. You've got a bumper sticker on the back of your car.
Yes.
Proud of you. You know what I mean? Like we think we're actually making a bigger impact than we actually are. Correct. So we kind of fool ourselves into that. Speaking of bold things here, we have a we have a group of scriptures here where there's going to be some names that are tough. So if you go
Eric
ahead,
has been working on these names all day long, just so everybody knows.
So open your Bibles up to Nehemiah. We're going to be in chapter 1. We're going to be in a couple other chapters there. But if you go ahead and go to Nehemiah, here's a tip. Go ahead and open the Bible app on your phone and it reads to you. So if you ever don't know how to pronounce a word, just let the Bible app pronounce it.
Let the British guy do it.
Yeah, exactly.
He does it so much better.
So here we go. Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. In late autumn, in the month of Kislev, in the 12th year of King Artaxerxes, how am I doing so far?
You're doing awesome, dude.
In the 12th year of King Artaxerxes' reign, I was at the fortress of Susa. Hanani, one of my brothers, came to visit me with some other men who had just arrived from Judah. I asked them about the Jews who had returned there from captivity and about how things were going in Jerusalem. Verse 3. They said to me, "Things are not going well for those who return to the province of Judah. They are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem has been torn down, and the gates have been destroyed by fire." So I think things are not going well as an understatement,
so well.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Verse 4, when I heard this, I sat down and wept. In fact, for days I mourned, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven. Mm-hmm. All right, so the question here, what is the burden that Nehemiah felt in these verses, and what was the significance of a city having a surrounding wall during Nehemiah's time?
Well, his burden is obviously for his hometown, right? You know, where he is ancestrally from. Now, Nehemiah had probably never been to Jerusalem because this is the time after captivity. So that all the Jewish people were taken into captivity for 70 years in Babylon. At the end, Cyrus the Great came out and he liberated Babylon, sent the Jews back to Jerusalem to rebuild basically the whole city. He even gave them all the resources to do it. The Jewish people go back to Jerusalem and they wander around. They don't spend time really rebuilding the whole city. In fact, it took them a long time just to reestablish the temple. Yeah. That's where we read in Haggai about them actually rebuilding the temple and actually putting it all back together. But even after they rebuild the temple, they don't actually get serious about putting the walls back up.
Sure.
Now, during that time, the walls being pushed down was meant to be a sign not just to yourself, but also to the surrounding community that your God had been basically destroyed. Your people had been just disregarded and that they were meaningless and they were not powerful to stand for themselves. And so here they are. The walls are in disrepair. They've been beaten down and they've sat in this situation for over 70 years.
Wow.
Walking around the rubble.
That's an entire generation.
An entire generation has gone by. They don't know it any different. They don't know what it could have been. They just really had accepted that this is just our reality and we're just going through the motions now. And so finally that breaks Nehemiah's heart.
And so the next question we have, goes along with that. Many of the Israelites had been so caught up in their routines and so used to living without the walls of Jerusalem that they neglected to actually rebuild them. So the question is, do you find yourself so caught up in your own routine that you miss the opportunity to make a difference? And what needs to change?
Yeah, I feel like this is a really appropriate question for right now because in 2020, all of us are just trying to get to 2021.
Right.
Like we really don't care anymore. In fact, that's why everybody's putting up their Christmas decorations right now. Just because they're hoping that somehow this will help us to get to 2021 a little bit quicker because, man, it's been hard, right? And so the routine has kind of kept us going where we're going through the motions. And part of that is just kind of surviving and getting to that place. But I think a lot of us have just accepted that routine. And I think for myself, I've been a guy who's been caught up in that routine as well. I mean, we started last year out about this time talking about the difference one life can make, and we gave every single person in our church a carabiner for somebody to pray for, somebody that you want to reach who's far from God. And I have been sitting during 2020 because of COVID, and it's like, oh, well, I can't really do the carabiner thing right now. I mean, I don't want to get COVID. I don't want to share the virus or anything like that. So I've kind of held off on some of those relationships. And I haven't put as much effort as I'd want to. And here I am sitting last weekend, like as a pastor, and I'm looking at all of these different carabiners. Right. There's that reminder of, man, we are still called to go out and to make a difference, but we get so caught up in a routine and get so comfortable at all times.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of what we're speaking to when we're talking about this particular passage. The question around the Israelites had been walking around the routine, neglecting what they need to do. And so I think that, is routine good? Yes. Is routine good when it causes you to neglect what you're supposed to do? No. In fact, I think that's like an escape, right? That's an excuse. And so I love you brought up a 2020. So many of us had our routines shifted around, and now we're trying to get back into a routine instead of stopping and, okay, great. hold on. When I establish this, the phrase that gets thrown around, this new normal, like, what about that should I be establishing?
Correct.
What about my old normal do I need to get rid of when it comes to my relationship with Christ, when it comes to my relationship with others, when it comes to making a difference in this world? And so I think, as tough as it has been over this past year for so many people, my encouragement, I think, to all of my friends and the people that I'm connected with is like, hey, how has God opened doors for you
Correct.
at this point? Now that you don't have X, what does that mean for you here and now? And so early on when we were doing these message discussions, I talked about, man, I was able to spend a lot more time with my kids.
Yeah.
Some great, some not so great.
Sometimes it's okay.
But making a difference and having those more intentional conversations, there's new routines that you've started.
Yeah.
And
I think our problems are really an opportunity for creativity.
Right.
If we're honest. It's our opportunity just to slow down a little bit. And we could take it as a problem, or we could say, no, this is an opportunity to be creative.
Yeah.
We can find a way around so we could do better ministry, so we can have a bigger impact for God.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we talk about it all the time, like as a church, we were reaching more people in small groups, reaching more people on the weekend. So God is kind of going,
He's on the
hey,
throne.
we're working big time here.
Yeah.
Carol says, I feel the world right now is really feeling the birthing pains as described in Matthew 24. We really need to go out and spread God's word more than ever. I agree. Tammy says that she makes efforts to get out of her routine and comfort zone, make progress, but still have a long way to go. Yeah, when you're, I love that word comfort zone, right?
Yep.
You have to get out of that comfort zone in order to be used by God sometimes. Next question. What is one way that God has burdened you to make a difference in the world?
Well, I'm a pastor, so man, I love following wherever God leads. And I think that that's one way that God has burdened me to make a difference, is to be compassionate. I love when Jesus walked the earth, the Bible records that he was moved with compassion because he saw the people like sheep without a shepherd.
Yeah.
And I think that every day we all encounter people who are lost. And I think my role as a pastor is responding to those people who are lost and taking advantage of those conversations that we get to have and being willing just to kind of walk into God, whatever you have for me. And around here, we never know what we're walking into,
Right.
Because we constantly get text messages from people who watch a weekend message and they've just got questions about God, and we have the opportunity to share Jesus with them. And man, we never know exactly what we're going to do, but man, we always see that God works and moves. He's always in control underneath the surface. I always think that it just happens by accident sometimes, but there's no coincidence with God.
Yeah.
He puts us in the right place at the right time to accomplish his purposes.
Yeah, and I think, so for me, by vocation, I'm a pastor, but I'm in marketing. And so as a marketer,
You are a marketing guru.
I'm a marketing guy. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, yeah, thanks. But what we tell people in marketing all the time, especially for those of you in sales or marketing, you have to niche down. You have to get down and try to focus your marketing message for your target audience. And so for me, it's trying to help other people realize that God has put you in a market that has put you and given you a target audience for you to interact with. And so how can you go out and be an evangelist to that area? How can you go out and make disciples in that area? So if you're in sales, be the best dang sales evangelist out there. If you're in daycare, be the best dang daycare disciple out there, right? Because God needs not just Christian pastors, obviously, but Christian lawyers, Christian doctors, Christian, homemakers, Christian everything. And so figuring out, where have I been placed and how can I make a difference in this world? Who has God created that burden for me? And for some of you, it's just in your home, in your family. And in a couple weeks, we're going to have Thanksgiving conversations. And because of what's been going on in this world, they're going to need peacemakers and unity seekers and people who are extending grace and empathy. And that might be you around the table. I mean, I hope it is.
Yeah.
Anything else on that before we move on?
I think we're good.
All right, Nehemiah 2, 17 through 18. But now I said to them, you know very well what trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire. Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace. Then I told them about how the gracious hand of God had been on me and about my conversation with the king. They replied at once, yes, let's rebuild the wall. And so they began the good work. So Nehemiah brought many people together to share his burden and rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. So the question is, who can you invite to help you make a difference, and how can you get your kids or others involved?
Well, I love this because my job as a pastor is to help people to find their gifts, talents, and abilities, and to use that, to leverage those things to be part of just this kingdom of God and building it. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 12 says that our job as pastors is to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. So that's what we're all about, is helping people to find what they're good at and then using that for the kingdom of God. And that's what I love about this church. Because over the, 11 years that I've been here at this church, I've loved to see people leverage what they're good at. I mean, we've got good car mechanics who come and help out at pit stop, which that doesn't seem like that would work at a church. But man, they're using what they're good at to honor God. I've loved to see people who love cleaning things just get involved with our cleaning team. And man, they come on our campus and they just clean things up. I love seeing those people with like the big diesel trucks who like to help out at some of our multi-sites because they pull trailers around everywhere. And now because we don't have so many multi-sites that are portable because God has blessed us and we've moved into a permanent facility, now they're helping with Community Connect, dragging trailers around to people who are in need. And so, man, I've loved to see how Sagebrush has really leveraged people to be able to use their gifts to accomplish this. A lot of people think that, man, we've got everything covered here because you pull onto our campus, right? And you see the lights and you see like all the professional, behaviors around here and you're like, oh man, that church has got everything covered. But what they don't realize is, man, we need everybody to leverage their gifts, talents, and abilities just to honor them here. And so I love as a pastor that I get to be a part of that, leveraging people and getting people excited about building the walls or doing the things that God's called us to do.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned so many different places to serve, not only here at the church, but serve in our community. So for some of you, if you're interested in serving, we have different spaces available depending on your comfortability level with people and groups and things like that. And we've had to make a lot of changes in order to make things, as safe as possible. But we'll have somebody, if you could, enter in that serving link into the comments there, or you can always call us or text us at 505-922-9200. We could get you connected to a serving team. I know we were just talking about in our auditoriums, we're looking for camera operators, so think about that. The amount of people that are watching us like right now, but also online through our services happens because we have volunteers behind the camera every single weekend at our services, making sure that they can see the service as well. So, and then also people in our kids ministries and everything else like that.
Everything else.
But the question here too was, what can you do to get your kids and others involved? And I would say serve with your kids, serve with somebody else. Don't serve alone. If you have influence over anybody, whether it's a kid, whether it's a niece, nephew, grandkids, bring them along with you, because I think when they see you, right, there's more things are caught than are taught. So they see you serving, they see that it's an example of that. And that's one thing, like I can look at my parents and I look at my dad and I just go, he's always generous. Like that's just the mindset. We asked a question very early on during the countdown. What are adjectives you'd want somebody to describe you as? And like one thing that I know when I talk about my dad is like, he's just always generous, giving him his time, giving him anything that he has to be able to help people. Now, do you want the people around you to say that about you? Then act that way and act that way in front of other people so they can see your example as well. Not so you can boast about it, but so they can emulate that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Nehemiah 6, 1-4. Here we go.
You got this, dude.
Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies found out that I had finished rebuilding the wall and that no gaps remained, though we had not yet set up the doors in the gates. So Sanballat and Geshem sent a message asking me to meet them at one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But I realized they were plotting to harm me, so I replied by sending this message to them. I'm engaged in a great work, so I can't come. Why should I stop working to come and meet with you? Oh boy, some of you are going to like copy and paste that as an excuse to get out of things here, right? 4 times they sent the same message, and each time I gave them the same reply. Nehemiah resisted the temptation of becoming distracted and abandoning his project. What are the biggest distractions in your life? What about in the lives of your kids?
Yeah, I think you're going to always have naysayers. Anytime you strongly feel something and anytime you feel like God has given you this divine burden like Nehemiah, there are always going to be people who stand against you.
Right.
And I think in order to get through it, you've got to know what your purpose is. And so that's why this has been so important over this whole series, to write out what your purpose really is and identify what has God put you on this earth to do. Because man, when you write that out and you can look back at that, you can always know, man, this is what I want to do. And man, no matter what comes against me, I'm holding firm on this thing. And I'm not going to let anybody detract me from doing exactly this thing that God's called me to do. I think you're always going to have naysayers, and you've got to really rise above it. And you've got to say, you know what? My goal in life is not to please myself or to please other people. I'm here on planet Earth, this playground that we call planet Earth, to please God. And that's what I want to be about.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that for those of you, if you're in any sort of like business, you've got some big business and you're part of a corporate environment, like there's always a mission. Well-run businesses always have like a mission, they have vision, they have value statements, and they're pointing you back towards those things. And if you have good leadership, they're always casting this vision and reminding you of where your focal point should be. Why are we doing these things? We're doing these things because we want to serve customers. We're doing these things because we want an excellent whatever experience, right? There are values that you have that for many of you, you're probably like, well, okay, blah, blah, blah. You repeat them because they become, kind of nondescript. But what those are supposed to do is help you identify that in every one of your situations, you can reorient and go, okay, right now, am I supposed to be doing this or am I supposed to be doing this? Which one helps us meet our mission and our goals and objectives better? And so I think that that's the one thing that Nehemiah was able to do. Now, obviously, there's some other implications here because he had, 3 people that were trying to kill him. Let's just kind of put that to the side just for now. But let's take practically for us, what are the things that are trying to hold us back and set us back that we go, okay, is this helping me become a better father, become a better mother, become a better sister, brother, whatever, become a better citizen of heaven here on earth?
Correct.
And if not, I shouldn't be distracted by that. I should be focusing on the good things. And so that's what I would say. I would say that with your kids as well. For me, we've set up different things in our kids' lives as far as the types of kids we want them to be character-wise. And we repeat to them and their teachers we just had parent-teacher conferences. Ooh. We repeat to them and their teachers, like, I don't care as much about their academic performance as I care about them being good, kids of good character in the classroom.
Yep.
So I tell their teachers all the time, and I tell them, if we have to sacrifice that or, something like that, I want to make sure that they're being kids of good character in the classroom because when push comes to shove, we can help with the academics.
Correct.
But it's hard to teach good character if they don't learn it early. Right?
Yeah, and I think that we've been talking about that over the course of this series, that one of the best ways is to really spend time reading the Bible and studying the Bible together as a family. And Todd's talked about this of, man, you got to find ways to really read the Bible together and to spend that time pouring that into your children so they have that same love for God.
Exactly. So we'd love to see some ideas. If you have ideas for I know there's some great parents that are watching this right now, and one of the best ways is to kind of share some ideas around. So if you just go ahead and pop those in the comments, let us know what are some ways that you can keep your kids focused on doing the good things and making an impact as well. That would help as well. All right, last question. How can you live in such a way that you stay focused on your God-given burden and avoid distractions? And how can you help your children remain focused?
Yeah. I have 3 things, Eric. 3 things.
Okay.
Surprise.
3 things.
First, I have to evaluate, right? What's most important in my life.
Write this down.
Then I got to get rid of all those things
Okay.
that really are holding me back from my purpose. And then finally, you got to keep your purpose in front of you. So constantly keeping your purpose in front of you so that man, I am on track. And then for me, like a lot of times I get so distracted by this little device.
Oh, yeah.
Because I get caught up on this. And so I found that, man, I haven't read as many books as I want to be a good leader or anything else like that. So I need to do a better job at avoiding those distractions. And then with my kids, just, staying focused even with my kids and helping them to not be just so distracted. Because there is this game out called Among Us.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever played this game.
Yeah, kind of sus.
My kids are totally into it. It's totally sus. But my kids are totally into it right now. They can't stop playing this game. And so I have to make sure that they're not slipping off their Zoom calls for school, playing Among Us the whole entire day. So
the whole time.
Trying to help them to stay focused too.
Yeah, I think that focus is important in understanding the distractions. I think the obvious distractions are one thing, and I think if we go back to what we talked about or we brought up earlier, it's like also focus on those things, those excuses that are distractions, but we try to excuse them as not being distractions, right? Yeah. So if I'm on social media and I'm like, well, I'm on social media because I want to make sure that I'm connecting with people and I'm a light in a dark place. I'm going to join this new social media thing because I want to be, but in reality, really evaluate whether or not you're using that for positive or I got to give people the truth in love or not. Because if that didn't sound loving, the truth means nothing, right? So those are some things that you can reevaluate to go, am I really just distracting myself? Because I feel like as much as I want to make this the excuse or this the excuse or even my job the excuse or my family, I'm the excuse.
Correct.
I'm the distraction. And so I need to have other people in my life that can hold a mirror up to me and help me evaluate that. So for some of us, that means you got to get involved in a small group. That means you got to find somebody else around you that's going to do life with you, that's willing to be able to challenge you in some of these ways that you can open up to and say, hey, I need to know what in my life is causing this distraction, and I'm giving you permission to speak that into my life as well.
So good.
So any final takeaways we have here?
Yeah. The takeaway that we really want to challenge you guys with is this week, maybe with your small group or with your family, do something big for the Lord to make a difference in our community. And one of the key ways that we want you to do that this year,
props.
because Christmas is coming up, is we're doing this thing called Operation Christmas Child through Samaritan's Purse.
Yep.
And man, this is a way that we can bring some love during the Christmas season to those who are in need all around our world. And I love this because you can pick up a box on any one of our campuses. And then with this, you can fill a box for a kid, a child who's in need. And then you could bring this back to our church because this they use as just a resource to win lots of kids to Jesus Christ. So they basically take these boxes, they send them out internationally, and they give these boxes away. And it's like, oh, cool, free gift for kids.
Yep.
But on top of that, they follow it up with like a 21-week Bible study, which really teaches them all about the meaning of Christmas and what it is to have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Right.
And man, Samaritan's Purse has seen thousands of people give their life to Christ simply through a Christmas present. So I want to challenge you to do that as groups or individuals as well.
Yeah, pick a night, just do a packing event or challenge yourself as a group and say, hey, can we do 20 boxes as a group? Can we do 10 boxes as a group? And if you're online right now, we do have a website, sagebrush.church/OCC, Operation Christmas Child. We have a goal for our online audience that we want to see 1,000 boxes get packed. So cool. And so you can even build one online with no touch. You don't have to go out anywhere, don't do anything. It's $25. They allow you to pick the types of things that you want, pick the group you want to send it to. So that's sagebrush.church/OCC. Online, we'd love to see 1,000 boxes. In our campuses, we want to bring those back by the 22nd. And let me tell you, I actually know people who have received boxes like this, whether you go on, host families and mission trips or things like that, where they would say that this was like the thing they looked forward to every year because their parents had a hard enough time getting them fed with food and water and basic clothing and shelter needs, that this was better than, the way they describe it is better than any of your vacations you've ever taken, any gift anybody's ever given you, because they're doing that. And then it also, as they get older, they start to realize there are people, because of the love of Christ, that are all around the world that care about me enough to provide this for me. And just like, wow, that's a big difference that we can make. So find something to do in your own group. If you're on your own, you could pack a box or go to sagebrush.church/OCC and build a box online and make somebody's Christmas this year. Anything else we want to tell our groups?
No, guys, thanks so much for spending time with us on a Monday.
Yep, and we're going to be starting a brand new series this weekend, so don't forget to join us for that one in person or online, and we will see you next week.